Slavery in America is often viewed through the lens of systemic racism and economic exploitation, but there are hidden chapters in this dark history that remain largely untold. Among these is the abuse faced by black male slaves at the hands of white women, an often overlooked dimension of power, violence, and control. This video sheds light on these untold stories, unveiling truths that demand our attention and understanding. The abuse of black male slaves by white women was deeply rooted in the power dynamics of slavery. White women, despite their secondary status in a patriarchal society, wielded significant control over enslaved people. In many cases, they used this control to exert their frustrations, anger, and desires in ways that were brutal and dehumanizing. The origins of this abuse can be traced to the foundation of slavery itself. In the 17th and 18th centuries, European colonial systems institutionalized racial hierarchies, positioning white individuals as superior. Within this structure, white women were expected to be subservient to white men. However, their dominance over enslaved people allowed them to assert power in ways denied to them in other areas of life. Enslaved black men were subjected to physical violence as a means of control. White women, often tasked with overseeing domestic slaves, used this power to punish perceived insubordination. The punishments ranged from verbal abuse to severe physical harm, including beatings, starvation, and confinement. Beyond physical violence, the abuse extended to psychological torment. White men frequently humiliated black male slaves, stripping them of dignity and identity. They would use derogatory language, force them into degrading tasks, or publicly shame them to affirm their dominance. One of the most egregious forms of abuse involved sexual exploitation. While history also focuses on the rape of black women by white men, many black male slaves were also victims of sexual violence perpetrated by white women. These relationships were far from consensual. They were grounded in coercion and imbalance of power. White women's sexual abuse of black men was a deeply taboo topic both then and now. It challenges the traditional narrative of white women as passive victims in a patriarchal society. In reality, they could and did exploit their positions of power in deeply harmful way. These acts of sexual violence were not isolated incidents. Numerous accounts from former slaves document this exploitation. Enslaved men were often forced to comply out of fear for their lives or the lives of their families. Refusal could result in brutal punishment or even death. The societal stigma surrounding interracial relationships complicated this dynamic further. While white men's relationships with black women were often openly condoned or overlooked, white women's relationships with black men were deemed scandalous and punishable. This hypocrisy added another layer of danger for enslaved men who bore the brunt of any fallout. The commodification of enslaved people's bodies extended to their sexuality. Black men were often hypersexualized and dehumanized, a stereotype that persists today. This portrayal served to justify both the abuse they endured and the broader system of slavery. Despite the risk, some black men resisted this abuse. They found ways to assert their humanity through subtle acts of defiance, such as refusing to meet their abuser's gaze or silently enduring punishment without begging for mercy. These small acts of resistance were profound in a system designed to break the human spirit. The abuse of black male slaves by white women isn't just a historical footnote, it's a part of the larger narrative of systemic racism and gendered violence. Recognizing these stories helps us understand the full scope of slavery's horrors and the lasting impact on our society. The legacy of this abuse continues to shape cultural perceptions and relationships. The hypersexualization of black men, for instance, can be traced back to these historical dynamics. Addressing these stereotypes requires confronting the uncomfortable truths of the past. Education is a critical step in breaking the silence around this history. By sharing these stories, we can honor the resilience of those who endure such unimaginable suffering and challenge the myths that perpetuate racial and gender inequalities today. So thank you for watching. If this video moved you, please like, share and subscribe for more content that uncovers untold histories. Together we can work towards a future rooted in truth and justice.